Hello, everyone. Let me get the stream going. Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
I promise folks will be able to see us in 3, 2,
Sam.
1. Happy Friday, Sarah.
Happy Friday, Sam.
I'm glad we're both in our cozy clothes today.
It's chilly here, so I'm all bundled up. Yeah.
I know it's been like 40s in the mornings here, which for here is weird.
That's chilly.
For people in like actual cold states, they're like 40. 40.
They're like hanging out in their shorts and flip flops. Like, really, Sam?
You said it was like also rainy where you are too.
Yeah, it is. Finally, we needed rain really, really badly, and we got it today. But it's like, it's been saving it up for a while, so we got like a month's worth of rain in one day. We got lots of rain.
Yikes! Wow. Well, I'm glad we're going to stay cozy today on this Veterans Day. I think a lot of people are like, maybe have the day off and. Oops.
Who are these people? Why are we not part of that?
So I hope many folks can join us today for some beading time. I think Shira's here because schools are obviously have the day off, and hopefully Shira will be making some lariats with us, and they are full of gemstones. And I kind of designed one of them for Shira. I got the amethyst strand, and then basically designed the whole thing so that Shira would like it. Because if Shira likes the purple palette, other people also tend to like the purple palette.
Yeah.
So you got to design with Shira in mind. I don't know, like one of the people in like your community, is there like someone who has like a really specific color or stone that they like their go-to, just like Colleen or Nicole or Kathy?
Yeah. Okay. So Colleen, she does not give herself nearly enough credit, but her work with color is extraordinary.
Is amazing. Amazing.
She really totally understands color and texture. And some people get one, some people get the other. She really gets both of them. And I'm always inspired to see her pieces. And she's always like, stop. She really is so talented. So if I ever need inspiration, I definitely go to Colleen because she knows what she's doing. She acts like she doesn't, but she does.
So folks will be wondering what we're doing today. So we're not just making lariat necklaces. Sarah's also designed bracelets, a bracelet design and an earring design to match with. So you have like a full set of gorgeousness. And we've designed 3 palettes that you can pick up as a kit, or you can take the techniques from today and try your own. And if you do, just please tag us, share in Sarah's Facebook group, share in the Sam Speed Shop Gem Chat group, so we can see the designs you make. Because we got a long weekend, so we're challenging you all to make something this weekend and share it with everyone. Other than that, I think there's one special thing I wanted to show you, Sarah, before we really got going.
Okay.
I can't remember if you're a big Christmas person.
You can't remember?
I remember you had a strong opinion. I couldn't remember which direction it was.
So I'm the girl that has, like, I can't remember what the last count was. I think I have 9 Christmas trees.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's jewelry. It's jewelry for trees. Like.
Do you start beading ornaments?
I used to. So that's kind of like part of where I got started with jewelry making, because my mom and my grandmother made beaded ornaments when I was a kid. And so I learned very, very early how to make handmade ornaments out of seed beads, oddly enough. I haven't made any of them in years, but that was a big deal when I was a kid. And I will only be putting up 1 Christmas tree this year since I have a smaller space, but Q's decided that he's going to make up for it by putting all kinds of Christmas lights outside for me. So
and then he'll dress up as a Christmas tree, right?
Yes. And then I will decorate him with all of the tree jewelry. That's the best part.
So now, okay, this is good, because I was like, this it's a good thing you like Christmas, because we're doing a bonus Christmas box that, of course, we have to send you.
Yes.
That is because we don't really do like a Christmas Sam's bead box. We like to we don't like to do it like that hyper specific, but like we wanted to do a Christmas box.
Yeah.
Regardless. So let me show you the start of our Christmas box. And this is more sneak peek than we've shown anyone yet.
Oh my gosh.
This is just some of it so far, but it's a good little sampler of where we're going.
I am in love.
Isn't it amazing?
Love. Oh, yes. Oh, that
so
gives me all the feelings.
I know that you like fire polish. So we had these custom done for us with gold, the gold finish on red, green, and clear.
They are gorgeous.
I'm obsessed. And then we also had custom trees done because you typically see these tree beads in like the same colors.
Yeah.
And we weren't happy in it. So we had them put AB and gold, just all the gorgeousness on our own trees.
So pretty.
And then you get some angels, charms, this custom leaf strand, those lacy drops, just like all sorts of goodies. This little sampler of what's coming in that December box.
It's gorgeous. I can't wait.
So this is for folks. This is not the December Sam's bead box. I would simply never share any secrets. But with bonus boxes, we have a little extra fun. So if you do want this box, it's available for pre-order now. We just started the pre-orders, and it'll ship in a couple weeks. Jesse will drop the links for that. But basically, it's at samsbeadbox.com, and there's a new page that says bonus Christmas box. Go there, and you can grab yourself a box. And if you already have a beadbox account, you can just log in first, and it'll kind of have your info already, so you don't have to type in all the stupid numbers again. So that's coming up, and I'm very excited. And of course, we'll send one to Sara, and maybe we'll see what she comes up with.
I can't wait. It's beautiful.
We could make some tree jewelry.
Yes, we can.
So that's the main announcement that I wanted to show you guys while we still have it. And then I think from there, we can switch gears to Lariats. And I can show you the 3 palettes we came up with Lariats for today's class. So I'm very curious which one is your personal favorite, Sara.
Okay, so it's really, really hard to pick. I think the one that you've got right in front of you is probably my favorite, which is weird because I'm not a pink person. I keep saying that, but I think the truth is that I am now a pink person. But I love this color combo. But I got to tell you, once I put the blue one together too, I was like, ooh, that blue is just, it came together beautifully. And that was the one I was like, I don't know. But it turned out gorgeous.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it.
And I'm a sucker for sodalite, so anything with sodalite is beautiful to me.
And then we picked out a bird just so that stands out a little bit more. That nice bright golden bird.
Yeah.
And then some darker seed beads, because this is more of our like deeper. I don't know. How I see this palette, it has like a bit more moodiness to it.
Yeah, maybe that's why I like it. It's a little moody.
That's the Sky of Sodalite kit. So each one's designed around a gem. That one was Sodalite. The last one was Peach Moonstone. And then the one I designed with Shira in mind was with Faceted Amethyst here.
Gosh.
So you get a whole strand of stones in each kit. And then you also get a round or melon drops, which are so nice.
I think the purple bird is my favorite. Out of all the birds are fabulous, but that purple bird he's just the best.
Really cute.
Yeah.
I love these birdies. And then this one, I'm so glad we did the copper seed beads because it's such a nice contrast in the final piece.
Yeah. Yep.
And then each one comes with a TierraCast hoop and some TierraCast findings as well. You get niobium or gold-filled ear wires. You get TierraCast jump rings and TierraCast lobster clasp. So then you just have to provide a few of your own basics like crimps, a couple head pins and eye pins, and some wire in your set. But you get all the beads and the main findings here. So that's the kit. I'm going to turn it over to Sara because now that you've seen the 3 colors, all the kits are now available on the Sam's Bead Shop website and on the app. So if you go to the Sam's Bead Shop app, you'll see all 3 right there. So definitely snag one if you'd like one. And we're going to jump into today's class.
All right. I'm going to turn us around and we're going to get right to it. So since we're doing a Lariat, It's funny because a lariat to me just kind of comes together itself. Sam was like, we're going to do a lariat project. And I was like, done. It's already designed. Like, we didn't have to talk about it. I knew what it was going to be. Like, I didn't really know what the color palette was, but I was like, yeah, done. Easy. I can do it all day long. And so with this one, we're going to start. First of all, I have a sample here, so I can show you the sample as we're working, which is kind of cool. I like that I didn't take it apart, right? That's pretty cool.
I love that.
So our lariat is just one singular strand of all of these gorgeous beads here, and it's going to come down through our TierraCast hoop, right? And then in the front is where our drop is going to be. And this is actually where we're going to get started. We're going to start with the wire working here in the front. We're going to work on wire wrapping our briolettes. Excuse me. And we're going to put together this whole little section here with our moonstone, our bird, our melon, and then our drop.
All right, Sarah's frozen just for a moment, but she usually returns very quickly. I'm going to take out my extra camera just to help things out a little bit. Don't fret.
I'm back.
Just happened. Hi, Sarah. Welcome back.
Okay, so we're gonna start with all of this, and we're really gonna focus down here on the drops, because the drops are gonna occur again in the earrings. So these we're actually gonna wire wrap together. The ones for the earrings, to save some time, I've already done them. So we're really gonna focus on these. You're gonna need 4 of these little drops, and then you're also gonna need one of the beautiful melon drops as well. Okay, so this one we're going to do a straight wire wrapped loop, and then the other 4 I'm going to show you kind of a cheat as far as wrapping briolettes is concerned, because it's not one of my favorite things to do. Not, you know, and it's not because they're not beautiful beads. It's just because sometimes it can be a little frustrating to wire wrap them. So I'm going to show you a shortcut that kind of works as it's a wrapped loop, but also a simple loop. So it's a combination. Okay, so it's a little cheat.
I'm so intrigued.
Yeah, we're going to start out with just a simple one first, though. So we're going to take our largest drop. This is going to be the bottom drop, and we're just going to put it onto a head pin, and we're going to do a wrapped loop with this. So I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to bend the wire over the top of the pliers. I love it. Drop it like it's hot. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, and we're going to go up and over the top barrel of the pliers. Now, when you look at this from this direction, you can see it kind of looks like a little question mark. Our loop is not complete, and we can't complete it until we reposition our tool here, because the bottom barrel of the round nose pliers is in the way, right? So all we're going to do is just twist those pliers in our hands. We just make the bottom barrel the top barrel, and then that way I can go ahead and take the wire over, and that's going to close up my loop. And now I have plenty of room where I can do my wire wraps. So I'm going to do about 3. You might have room for 4, but don't push it, because you don't want to accidentally crack the top of your bead. So 3 wire wraps, and then I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, and I'm going to trim off any of the excess wire that I don't need. You want to get as close as you can, but if you still have a little sticking out, you come in with your chain nose pliers, and very gently, again, being mindful, don't want to accidentally crack your bead, but you just want to squeeze to kind of tuck the end of that in. Okay, so this is the big drop that's going to go on the bottom. Now, the rest of the focal drop itself is going to be a cluster of beads, where we're going to use some jump rings to make a little beady cluster here, sort of like a bunch of grapes, kind of, except we're using drop shapes instead of rounds. But that's what it reminds me of. It's like a cluster.
I see it.
Yeah. All right. So these little guys are drilled across the top, right? That's what makes them different than this guy. We can't just pop a head pin on these. We've got to actually wire wrap these. And sometimes that can be kind of daunting. So I'm going to show you a trick. For those of you who don't like where you have to take the 2 wire wrap sections and make them meet in the middle, because sometimes it just doesn't end up being very clean. So I'm going to show you a way to cheat that. Okay. So I'm using some 24 gauge German style wire in gold color. And you only need about 3 inches of this. My pieces are cut a little on the long side just so I have extra, but it doesn't take much wire at all. These beads are fairly small. Okay, so we're going to take the drops one at a time. We're going to thread those on to our pieces of wire. And you can bring that to the center or off center. It really doesn't make much of a difference here because we're not going to need all of this wire, but you want to take the wire one side at a time and you want to bend it, and you want the wire to bend along that natural curve of the bead where the bead kind of comes down to a point. So you want that wire to follow that same path. I'm going to turn it over in my fingers. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other wire on the other side. And then what ends up happening is those 2 wires are going to crisscross over the top of that bead. Now, it might not be perfect. It doesn't have to be a perfect triangle. Mine is not, and I'm not super worried about it. You definitely can, get away with not sweating the small stuff in this kind of design. You don't have to worry if it's perfect. You really don't, because once you put everything all together, nobody is going to be looking that closely at these little wraps. I promise. They're going to be looking at the overall piece and how beautiful it is.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I like to come in with my bent chain nose pliers, and I use those to hold on to the wire right above the tip of the bead. Okay. Then I'm going to take one of those wires and I'm going to just bend it a little bit more. I got to be careful here because I don't want to break my bead. And I have broken a couple of these because I'm not very gentle. So please be more gentle than I am. All right, so one of those wires we want to bend out to the left or to the right, whichever you're more comfortable with. And then the other wire, you want to bend it straight up and down. So you're kind of making an L shape here. Okay. Now we're going to start this out like a normal wire wrapped briolette, but we're going to cheat. So I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to wrap around the straight wire 2 or 3 times, just like you would with a normal briolette wrap. Right. And then I'm going to stop. I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and I'm going to trim off that wire. Now, normally what I would do is I would say, okay, well, we didn't get cut close enough here. Let me trim just a little bit more. I would say, okay, now come in with your chain nose pliers, grab the wire right at the top of those wire wraps and just treat those wire wraps like a bead, right? And you would do a loop and then your wire wraps would come down and meet up with these wire wraps. But sometimes it doesn't always end up being seamless. And that can be really frustrating to people because they want it to look nicely. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to cheat. Instead of doing all that, we're going to take this wire and we're going to bend it forward. Just like we were going to do a simple loop, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to come in with our cutter tool. We're going to trim off the excess wire here, leaving ourselves about 1/4 of an inch of wire. Then we're going to use our round nose pliers, and we're going to grab the tip of that wire. We're going to roll back. And we have a faux wrapped loop. It doesn't have all the extra wraps. Looks like a wrapped loop, but is not. It's a simple loop on top of wire wraps.
Yeah, you would have fooled me.
Yeah, if you're just looking at it from a distance, you don't really know, right? You can't tell. You can't tell that that's not just a regular wrapped loop. But it does a couple of things. Number one, it saves you from the trouble of having to make your wire wraps meet each other. But then it shortens the length of the overall bead and how it's going to dangle. Because you've already got 3 wire wraps here, right? And I don't even know how much space that takes up. It's not a lot, but in an overall design, it can be, right? If you add another 3 wire wraps to the top of that, which is pretty much the same distance of the loop that I've made here, then your loop is going to sit on top of that. That's a full 1/2 inch from the top of your bead when everything is all said and done, right? So we don't want all that. I mean, sometimes you do, but for our design, we don't need all that extra length. We've already got a nice long bead here. We don't want to cover it up with all of the wire wraps and stuff, right? We still want this bigger bead down here to be peeking out the bottom. So that little trick is going to make everything kind of lay the way you want it to lay, right? Without making it too long.
In terms of gauge, I think you had 24 gauge on your supply list. Is that what you're using here for this technique?
So here's the thing. It's kind of just trial and error with the gauge here. 24 gauge is a little on the small side, not gonna lie. It's not my favorite to do this kind of wire wrap with. However, I want to be very gentle with the drill on these beads because it is right up here at the tip.
Mm-hmm.
A 22 gauge wire, which is what I normally would use, it may fit through there. You just got to be really, really careful because you don't want to be beading that 22 gauge wire and accidentally crack the tip of your bead off. And I've done that. So just because it fits in the hole doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best size to be using for this kind of technique when you are working in such a really small spot, you know?
Gotcha.
So 24 is kind of what I recommend just for these in particular, but with other beads, you can use whatever, you know, it's whatever will fit. All right. So again, I crisscross those over the top of my bead. I'm going to grab with my bent chain nose pliers. That keeps the tip of my pliers out of the way. That's why I love these bent chain nose pliers for this. I'm going to take one of the wires, bend it straight up and down. The other wire is just coming out to the side here. And I am going to wire wrap about 3 times. I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim off.
Vicky's hoping you might also be able to show one where you do complete it's in a more standard way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to bend that wire. I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, trim off, and then use my round nose pliers to just make a simple loop. And it looks like a wrapped loop. So then when we go to put this together, that one will go on that side. We've got 2 more to do. And then I'll show you how to do just a standard Brio wrap.
How many pieces of jewelry do you think you're making these days? Oh, every week?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think per week, probably 12 to 13 pieces a week, I guess. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I try to make things original. With kids, it's different because, like today, for instance, in my Feel Good Friday show, I did a bracelet, and the technique and the style of the bracelet, I bet I've done it 20 times. And I continue to do it because it sells, because the style is so cool. It's the one with the button as the clasp. Everybody loves that. They always sell out. There's only one left in the shop right now. And I don't mind showing it over and over again because it's really popular. It's not going to go out of style. It's, everybody loves it. And if you change up the beads, it changes up the look. So I sometimes do repeats on Fridays, but that's a little different, than a regular live.
Right. If for folks not familiar, Sara does a show every Friday morning. I think it was earlier today, right? But typically
it was early. Yeah, it was early today just because I had some appointments that I had to take care of today. But it's normally at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays.
And she launches like 4 to 6 kits every Friday.
Yes.
That are very inclusive and generous. And those she has in her Etsy shop, which is 13 Crows.
Yep.
And then the kit today is slightly different. It's a Sam's Bead Shop kit that you can find on the Sam's Bead Shop website or app that we designed together. So usually when Sara and I work on these, I get to help draft some of the palettes and see what Sara thinks. I mean, and even before that, we're coming up with a project, and I'm like, so what shapes we're gonna do? And pretty quickly we decide melons have to be involved. Okay, then maybe also melon drops.
Yeah.
And then maybe we need some of this. And then I have my task and get to go make palettes for Sara to design with. It's very fun.
It is fun. It's one of my favorite things that we are doing. I love it. I love it because we do a little brainstorm and then beads show up and I get to create something fabulous. It's like we talk about it and then I get to bring it to life. And that's so fun.
It's fun from my end too. I love it.
All right, so 4 of those, and then your larger melon drop is going to be our dangle section. But before we start putting these things together, let's do what Sam said, and I'll show you a standard Brio wrap here with one of the drops. So if you didn't want to cheat and do it this way, you can do it just the standard way, which is going to start out exactly the same. You're going to crisscross your wires over the top of your bead, just like this. Okay, so now same thing. We're going to come in with our bent chain nose pliers. We're going to hold on to that little crisscross. We're going to take one wire, bend it out, and the other wire is going to bend straight up and down. The wire that is bent out, you're going to wire wrap around the straight wire about 3 times or whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. And you're going to come in with your cutter tool. You're going to trim off. Okay. So now, instead of what I have been doing, we're going to do a wrapped loop. And we're going to do it with the full 3 wraps. So we're going to treat those 3 wraps that we just did like they were a bead. In other words, that's where I'm going to place my tool. I'm going to put my pliers right up against those wraps, just pretending like they do not exist. Okay. I'm going to bend the wire over the top of the pliers. There's still room here for the wire wraps. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. We're going up and over. Rotate those pliers so you can take the wire over to the other side. Now the goal here is to make your wire wraps meet with each other. And that seems fairly straightforward and easy until you actually do it. And sometimes it looks nice and sometimes it doesn't. And it doesn't matter who you are or how many times you've done it. That's just kind of the way it is. And if you are a perfectionist like I am, sometimes that can be incredibly frustrating.
Right.
So see the little gap that's in there? That might drive you crazy. If it drives you crazy, you might be better off to cheat. If it doesn't drive you crazy, then you can leave it. You can even try to scoot in one more wire wrap if you can, right? The goal is to make it as seamless looking as possible, which looks pretty good from the front. Then you come up here on the back and you want to cut the wire right up against where the cut in the other wire is. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. But then after that, you just come in and kind of clean it up with your pliers. And that's what you've got. But you can see how all those wraps can kind of make for extra length when you're working. So if you don't want the extra length, then do the 3 wraps and do the cheat, right? But that's the goal, is to make it look as seamless as possible. And like I said, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And it can be really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
And
if you want a third option, there was one I was throwing at Sara yesterday. I was like, I guess if someone really doesn't want to do a Brio wrap, they could do a wire wrap loop onto the Brio bead, put one of the seed beads, and then do another wire wrap loop. And it will look gorgeous, and you won't have to Brio wrap.
So I'm when you told this to me yesterday, I was like, what are you saying? Can you show me? Because like I still have trouble envisioning what you're talking about.
Yes, hold please.
Like, yes, hold please.
Here we go. Let me add my camera back. This makes sense in my head. So let's see if this will show for you. I've never added my demo cam to a Sara Lovecraft class. Okay, so here is roughly what I'm thinking. I need a little more room here. So basically, if I make the loop of my wire wrap loop large enough, theoretically it should go through my Brio bead.
Oh my gosh, now I see. I was thinking this completely backwards. Oh my gosh, yes, this is brilliant.
I know you don't need me to demonstrate this anymore, but I'm this far in.
No, do it. Yeah, because somebody else may not know. Just because I know where you're going doesn't mean anybody else does. So yeah.
So what we're doing is starting with your standard wire wrap loop, and Sarah's going to be so scared once I do the next step here. Open up your loop on your Brio. I'm using, this is 24 gauge here, it looks like. And then I guess it could be a little smaller, but that's the general idea. It's a pretty big loop. So, but maybe it kind of is cool because it's round, and there's a lot of round things in this design.
I wish that this was what I had done. I really wish this was the technique I had used. Oh my gosh, it's brilliant. And I don't know why. This never occurred to me ever. You are so smart.
That's an honor. I think it's helpful to like have all your options.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Do I have any? What my copper sea bead? Oh my god, I got these tubes from John Bead by Danielle's. You can buy these tubes empty, and they're the twist ones.
Oh, I love the twist ones. That's what the crimp tubes need.
All of them need the twist.
They do. They definitely
need the shimmy and they need the twist. All right, so I just put on a CB. That's totally optional, but it could be a way to add a fun little accent. And this is at least what the idea was. And then I'm going to finish that off. And I'll do a smaller loop so it's a little less noticeable with a wire wrap loop as well.
Oh my gosh, this is so smart.
This is only because I have watched you forever, Sarah.
I don't know. I've never done this. I don't.
Yeah, but you do so many wire wrap loops, so this is just an extension of it.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Like my mind is blown. Like like that was a no-brainer. Oh my gosh. So pretty too.
It's kind of cute.
I love it. I like that so much better than what I did. Oh my god.
Oh, don't be hard on yourself. I like all of them. They're all helpful.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. So use Sam's technique because it rocks. Okay.
God.
And then, well, okay, any of the three will work. It's all going to get you to the same ends, right? It's just whatever works better for you, but that was absolutely brilliant. So now the goal is to put all of this together, and we're going to do that with a series of jump rings. So I'm going to open up a jump ring. Some of mine are already open here, but I've opened up a jump ring. I'm going to thread this jump ring onto our biggest bead. So I'm going to start at the bottom. I just find that it's a little bit easier to start at the bottom and work my way up as opposed to going from the top and working down. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers. I'm going to twist to close that back. And then we're going to add another jump ring to this. So you want to open up a second jump ring. We're going to thread that one onto the jump ring that we just added. And now we want to add our drops to this, but I want a drop to be on either side of the jump ring that's already hanging, right? So we got to be really careful of that, because if you hang these both on the same size or on the same side, it's not going to hang evenly. It's going to be kind of lopsided. It'll be a little heavier on one side. So I usually thread one of them on, and then I'll grab with my pliers to hold on to it, and I'll pick up a bead and put it on the other side. And then I'll twist to close that back. Okay. And then very carefully sit this down on the table, because I don't want to lose this jump ring here. And when you're making a beaded bundle like this, the more beads you've got in it, the more important it is to be careful to not lose that jump ring, because then it gets lost in all of the beads, right? So I'm going to pick up another jump ring, and I'm going to use this jump ring to pick up where I just laid this down on the table. Okay. So now I'm ready to add another bead. And again, I want it to go on either side of the jump ring that we previously added, so that everything is going to hang nice and even. Okay. So now what you've got is this really beautiful little beaded bundle where you've got beads hanging on all sides. So I know it's hard to see because you're looking down on this, but from the front, you can tell it's very three-dimensional. You've got beads all the way around. It makes a nice full bundle. Now, before I close this, I'm going to take an eye pin, and I'm going to go ahead and thread an eye pin onto this, and then I'm going to close this jump ring back.
Clusters were one of the first things I became obsessed with jewelry making.
Yeah, I love a good bead cluster.
It's such a like that bead clusters you can make into endless earrings, and people love them.
Yes, and the fuller the better. Like I love them when they're really, and I think they look great. I don't love to make them because it takes forever, but I love the way they look.
Right. Well, you can do them like I used to use like the one-step looper with them to kind of speed them along.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. All right, we're going to thread on a melon bead. Okay. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is the directions of your loops here. Okay. So I've thread on my melon bead, and my loop at the bottom of this, that eye pin loop, is facing away from me so that the jump ring is facing towards me. But the wrapped loop that I'm going to do on the top of this is actually going to face in the opposite direction of this bottom loop. So I want my wrapped loop to be facing me. Okay. So I'm going to turn it sideways, and then I'm going to start my wrapped loop. So that loop that we're about to make is going to face towards me. So I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. We're just going to do regular up and over, rotate, take the wire over to the other side, and then we're going to wire wrap. Oops. And then we're going to come in with our cutter tool and trim off the excess. Okay, now we're going to add our bird, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add an eye pin. So take my chain nose pliers, twist to open that, thread that onto the loop that we just made, twist it back to close it, and then we're going to thread on our bird. And then again, same thing. So the loop on the top of the bird is going to be opposite the loop on the bottom. The loop on the bottom is facing away from us. The one on the top needs to face towards us. So chain nose pliers, bend the wire. Your bird may spin around while you're doing this. That's fine. Up and over.
It's fitting.
And then do your wraps.
Is anyone else obsessed with these bird beads? I think they're so cute.
Yeah, I love them. They're one of my favorite beads currently.
We got a bunch. We have at least a few colors in the shop, and they're just so cute.
They really are. All right, so now we're going to do one more, and this time we're going to add one of our peach moonstone beads to this. So same steps, eye pin, going on to the loop we just created, close that back, thread on your moonstone bead. Okay, and then you're going to do your wrapped loop on the top. And then your dangle is ready to go. Okay, we're ready to move on to the stringing part of this necklace. And the rest of this comes together just as quickly as you can string beads, really. So we're going to crimp, and then we're going to get started stringing on these gorgeous beads. And fortunately, since I have my sample here, we can follow along. The only bird to flip will get you in trouble.
I thought you might enjoy that one.
I love it. I love it. All right. Okay. So our focal is done. There's our beautiful focal. That's really going to kind of add length and elongate our necklace even more in the front, and it adds a little sparkle. It's just pretty. All right, so we're actually going to go from there. We're going to transition with a jump ring, and then we're going to start with our stringing. So I'm going to use a wire guardian and a crimp. You don't have to use a wire guardian if you don't want to, but I am going to add a jump ring in between here. So jump ring's going on first. Close that back. And then I'm going to use my bead stringing wire. So the bead stringing wire, you're going to need about or I'm sorry, 28 to like 30 inches, somewhere around there. 26. I mean, honestly, here's the thing. Okay. So it kind of depends on which kit you buy, because the beads in the purple kit are a little bit smaller. So you can use more of them. So you can make your necklace a little bit longer if you want to. Whereas with this one and the blue one, you're going to use all of the beads. You're not really going to have any leftovers. And your bead stringing wire, when you cut it, needs to be about 26 to 28 inches.
Wait, I'm having a slow moment. If all the strands are roughly the same length of the gems, why does the length vary so much?
I don't know. It's really weird how it worked out, and it frustrated me as I was putting all three of them together. I don't know the answer to your question. I wish I did, but I don't. No idea.
I just measure all the strands against each other, and you think you get a half inch more of the amethyst, but that's it.
I know it doesn't make it right. It does not logically. It makes no sense. But it trust me, for whatever reason, I don't know. Oh, yeah, maybe that's why. I don't know. It was an enigma. Okay. I was like, why is this happening? This doesn't make
right. Because you do get, oh, no, that is part of it. Because you get a 30-piece strand of 6mm drooks in the purple kit. So that theoretically could be more length also from there. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess that makes way more sense. I don't feel so like what Sam is saying. I'm just crazy. I feel less crazy.
I know that. I was just like trying to figure. It's a little weird conundrum. Like, what? Why? Let's figure it out.
I don't really know. I don't
know. But that makes sense to me.
All right. So my bead string wire is gone through my wire guardian, and I lost my crimp. So I'm going to slide my crimp back down here. And we want to be sure that, oh my goodness, if I could, my bead string wire is a little slippery sides. I keep losing my.
Also, Marianne's a genius, because if you're using more of a smaller bead but the same size seed bead, you're going to end up with more length also. So all these factors.
Okay, good. So I'm not crazy. That's wonderful. I mean, I am, but not about this. So it's okay. All good. All good. Okay. So we want to be sure that our bead string wire is not crisscrossing inside our crimp, right? It's running parallel inside there. You're going to bring your crimper tool in, and you're going to place that into the back notch of your crimper tool. Give it a squeeze. That's going to further separate out your wires inside your crimp tube. I don't want to say bead math, Sam. Bead math. Yeah, math at all is just not. I don't do. I can't. And then
also, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just putting that in the front notch to make it a little bit smaller, and now I'm going to trim off the excess.
Apparently, we have a name together now.
We do. Samara. Is that what it is? Oh wait, Sarah magic. I see. I
think there's multiple names in the running, and Shira's going for Saram or Saram.
I like it. So
what did you say? You said Samara?
Samsara. So, which actually means life in Sanskrit. And the only reason that I said that is because, remember, my sister's name was Samantha. And so we called her Sam. And my mom, like, you know how moms are when you got to yell at your kids and like any combination is going to come out of your mouth. Sarah is like, if she was yelling at one of us, but she didn't know which one, that's what would come out of her mouth. So.
But then it means something else, you said?
Yeah, it actually means life. It's like the circle of life in Sanskrit. So it's actually a real word, which I thought was kind of fitting. So I don't know.
That's great.
It was an accident. I mean, she didn't know that at the time. All right. So now we're going to start beading this up. And the bead sequence is actually going to change halfway through. So if you want to do this exactly the way that I've put it together, then you're going to want to pay attention to the bead sequence here. But I do have our sample here to follow along with. So we're going to alternate with, we're going to pop a seed bead in between every single bead, but we're going to do a melon, and then we're going to do 2 of the peach moonstone, and then a melon and 2 of the peach moonstone. We're going to do that for a little while, and then I'll tell you when it's time to change it up a little bit, because we're going to start adding in some of those larger melon drops as well. All right, so just to get started, we're going to put a seed bead on. Okay. And then a melon. Seed bead. Peach moonstone.
This is my favorite part of class. And probably Sarah's. She's probably like freaking out.
I always like there's a lot of pressure when you're stringing in a class because it's like, oh my gosh, if I take too long, people are going to fall asleep. I got to fill up all of the awkward silence with the sound of my own voice. And what am I going to talk about? It's a stressful time. Talk to me, Sam, so I don't feel awkward.
Well, I was stringing 3mm faceted gems on my class on last Friday.
Uh-huh.
And I was using like too large of a stringing wire, so I had to perfectly place each one
Gosh.
on the stringing wire, and I was like going insane. I only strung up half the necklace because I said absolutely not. And I was like, this will be easier off camera. And then immediately I started stringing. I want to say at the end of the stream, and it was twice as hard.
Oh my gosh.
Never again. But actually, the true lesson there is I should have just used the proper stringing wire, not one that fills the entire hole of the bead.
Yeah, but sometimes you've just done it so many times, you're like, oh, this will work, and then you end up and you're like, darn. I know better. I know. You get complacent, and then things happen.
Well, it's because you know what will work. You know which rules you can break, but then
yeah.
But then you still regret it.
Yep. All right. So again, it's just 2 of the peach moonstone and then 1 of these beautiful melons in between there. And I'm just popping a seed bead in between there. Now, if you want to lengthen your necklace and make it even longer, you can add even more seed beads if you want to. You don't have to do this in the exact pattern that I'm doing it. You can change this up however you want.
It looks. I'm so glad that we chose these seed beads because they look like little knots.
They do.
And
That's
so fitting.
Why I liked them. Yeah.
It feels like almost a. I don't want to say cheap, but it's like it feels like a.
Like we're cheating. It does feel like we're cheating.
So when Sarah and I were coming up with what kits we wanted to do this month, the main thing we were thinking about was kind of gift oriented.
Yeah.
Kits. So we wanted things that felt more accessible, and a Lariat was immediately thought of because it's a claspless necklace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That at its core is a stringing project, and then you can choose how much you want to add on to it. Because you don't have to do all the extra wire fancies, but I think they're nice, and it's a good chance to brush up on things like Brio wrapping and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's not required. And so we kind of have the same thing in mind for the other kits that we're dreaming up for this month. Is we want them either to be something that you could gift as a kit. You could kind of make a project come say with Thanksgiving coming up. It could be a project that you could do with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you do the crimping and then so you could have someone else do the stringing for you to make it collaborative.
I love that.
Or it's a project where it's not too complicated that you could put it together as a finished piece and gift that.
Right.
Okay, Mira says it's a beading hack. We're not cheating, it's a beading hack. Thank you, Mira.
Yep. Beading hack indeed.
Works bead smarter.
Exactly. I like it.
I saw a question about ordering the Christmas box. It is totally outside the subscription, so you can actually purchase it. It's as a one-off box, but it's totally separate than the bead box. We actually recommend purchasing on its own. Say if you were looking to sign up for the bead box, do that separately, just because I think we were finding it got more confusing if you did them together. You can just go to sambeadbox.com and click bonus Christmas box, and then look at your cart, make sure it just has the Christmas box in it, and just go ahead and check out. And you should be good to go. Let us know if you need any help. By us, I mean you can reach out to the Sam's Beach Shop page. Don't bug Sara with it.
Well, I mean, you can, but you know who you're going to end up talking to is Kathy. It's really not even me. If you send me a message, it's not me.
Lynn just reminded me that 1 week away is the competition.
Oh my gosh. Yep, sure is.
Which I'm very excited for. I think many folks actually have their competition kits by now. I know. Did you get yours, Sara?
I did. I'm so nervous.
Oh, please. You've always said that about competitions. I find it so funny.
I am. It makes me nervous. I can't help it. It's just the pressure. And you put me up against two of the most amazing designers ever. Like, how am I not supposed to feel intimidated by that?
Right. And that's exactly what Danielle said. She's like, me? I don't want to go against Sara.
The good thing about it is that it's all friendly fun. It's not, it's not like it's cutthroat and that's the end. You're done. You're fired. Get out of here.
Yeah, this is a good feels competition. This is not Chopped or Iron Chef or whatever the worst one is.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we've worked our way through this, okay, we are going to change up our beading pattern a little bit by incorporating. You can see how in the sample here, we've started incorporating some of the teardrop melons. And basically, I'm going to throw in a melon. I'm going to repeat my regular pattern, and then I'm going to throw in a melon in. And just to add visually interest, I flipped it the other direction. So you're going to see, like, every time I've added a melon, like these two are facing each other. These two are facing each other. At least that's the way I see it, right? I see that, like, the small ends are facing towards each other. You don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. I just thought it was kind of a cool way to kind of change the look up a little bit. So let's see, where were we at? Right in here. I really am trying to kind of keep up with the sample so that I don't get lost, because I will. There's a lot of beads going on here. So I'm gonna add on one of the melon drops and then just another seed bead. So you're not really changing much of anything. You're just adding an extra bead, but the pattern is going to stay the same. So 2 of our moonstones. And then another one of the round melons. We're going to do 2 of the moonstone. Oops. A seed bead, and then I'm going to add my melon teardrop facing other direction.
One of the things that Sara brought up when we were brainstorming for this kit is that she wanted the beads of the strand to be pretty similar in size.
Yeah.
And I was curious if you wanted to like tell us a little bit about that design idea.
So here's the thing with lariats, okay? And you kind of have to, unfortunately, we're going to talk bead math again, except we're talking bead math in visual terms, as far as like geometry is concerned. So a lariat in general, most of the time, is a longer style necklace. Now, it doesn't have to be. You can wear it like a choker. You can do whatever you want to, but it really is just one continuous strand, depending on what style lariat you're making. But for this one, since it's one continuous strand, when you put a lariat on, it really kind of elongates everything. It's if you feel like if you wake up one morning and you're feeling particularly short, I know this sounds really weird, right? If you're having a short day, I have a short day. I'm a short person. I always have a short day. But if I need to lengthen myself, right, I pick jeans that make my body look longer, right? Well, I also might pick some jewelry that does the same thing, right? You pick a certain fit for your jeans. You might pick a certain fit for your jewelry in the same way. So with that in mind, the fact that a lariat necklace, this style in particular, will elongate and make everything seem longer and leaner, it's important to keep it really balanced. And if you don't keep it balanced, and let's say we were just kind of throwing all kinds of different sizes of beads in here, it takes that elongation away from the necklace, and it makes it look a little bit too busy. So that doesn't mean that you can't use larger beads. Okay. So this one we're using pretty, they're all around the same kind of size. What do we have here? 8mm beads. That's what we've got, right?
Generally around 8mm.
If you're going to use a 12mm or a 14 or 15mm bead, that's fine. But you want to try to keep most of the beads that size in order to have the lariat do what a lariat is supposed to do. Does that make sense at all? Or does that just sound like complete rubbish? I promise it's the truth. It's just that I think some people look at their jewelry that way, kind of like the way you buy your jeans, but other people might not. And so that might seem a little silly, but it's all about balance. And with a piece that is already long visually, you don't want to create chaos in it by throwing in random sizes of beads.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because you said you wanted like one larger bead for the focal. That's where we came up with the bird.
Right. Yeah. Any of your heavier elements you can put in the front, but you still, and even with ours, it's still not a huge bead. We didn't all of a sudden throw in like a 40mm medallion right here, right? We still kind of kept everything fairly consistent as far as the size. And we created a nice little vignette right here in the front where, it's small, larger, smaller, and then we have the elongation of our cluster at the bottom. So it still works. It's not a huge bead, whereas if we had thrown in something really big, it might have felt way too heavy in the front and kind of would have thrown the balance of the entire piece off. And what's really funny is that I do all of these things, and I think a lot of designers and jewelry makers and artists do, is I never think about those things until you ask me. And when you ask me, it's like, I do it naturally, and a lot of people do. We just do it naturally, but there really is a reason behind all of it. You might not think about it, but when you're putting a piece together, you're going to notice if it's unbalanced. You're going to feel like it's just not quite right. And it's because there really is like there are some rules there that we're just kind of inherently following as we put things together.
Yeah,
but if you don't and you struggle, then you've got a kind of a baseline there. I need to keep, if it's a long style necklace, I need to kind of keep everything balanced,
Absolutely.
Wow, you give me the opportunity to sound smart. That's all this is about. Is you like
because I see the genius, and then sometimes I just feel like I have to like poke the bear.
I don't mind at all, because like I said, it makes me sound really smart. But I mean, it's the truth,
No, they're great. And it's really nice to talk. I mean, I think it's really helpful to talk more this sort of way about design in general.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
that's what you're going to hold on to in the long term, not that this bead goes nicely with this bead.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
If you were going to go to like jewelry making school, and I assume that there is something like that out there, those are the things that they're going to teach you. Those are the lessons that you're going to read in books. But it helps to just kind of naturally figure it out on your own. And then it just kind of becomes second nature, and you don't really need an explanation, but I'm happy to give it to you because like I said, it makes me sound really smart.
Kim, we're using 80 seed beads here. These are Preciosa seed beads made in the Czech Republic. And then Holly had a great question about like using nuggets or chips in a design like this. I feel like it could totally work.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think chips are underrated. I feel like people kind of shy away from them because they don't really know what to do with them. They would work beautifully in a design like this. So maybe instead we put these drops, right? These melon drops, they'll be a great place to put like a 1/2-inch cluster, some chips, you know.
Absolutely.
But I would want to cluster them together. I don't know that I would just want to like do an individual chip here and there, just because I don't know that they would translate very well in the design. You know, they wouldn't show themselves off in the best light, but a cluster of them would be really beautiful.
Yeah, they also look really nice with spacers as well. So I feel like I'm already imagining like this beautiful long layer that's just like a ton of chips with spacers between them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're cheating and using our seed beads like we nodded, but we didn't because we're naughty. Love it. And I'm funny. All right, so I'm gonna add one. Let's see, where are we at here? I think
where are you at? I'm very curious.
We're pretty close to the end here. We're almost at the end of our design. So we've got 2 more of our melons to add here. So whoops, making a huge mess on my table here. I'm glad you can't see it.
Is there even a pattern that I'm not noticing for the direction the melon drops are facing?
Yeah.
That's so smart. They're not all facing the same direction.
Exactly. They're kind of, it's just to add a little visual interest. You can do it however you want to, but I thought it was kind of cool to have them kind of facing different ways.
So I think they're facing out from a melon, but then it's facing it. How is it? Is it just alternating?
Yeah, so it just alternates. So like this section here, the small ones are facing each other, but then the next section, the large, right? The large.
Oh, got it. So they are all sort of alternating. That's cool.
All right. So we've got one more of the moonstone and one more of these, and then we're going to add our ring to this and our necklace will be done.
I didn't realize how ambitious we were for one class.
I know, the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, we've already gone over an hour. Like I may have to do like a quick abbreviated version of our bracelet since it's just stringing, and then
nice.
I can show you the earrings super quick.
No, I'm in no rush. I know it gets later on your end there.
It gets later on your end too.
No, but it's only 4 o'clock here.
Well, I know that's true.
Yes, it does get later here too.
Apparently, you have a time-stopping machine over there. I don't know.
We get it all done.
All right, so I'm going to add my. So first of all, let me show you what we've ended with. I've ended with one of those teardrop melons, and I'm just going to thread on my crimp, and I'm going to thread on my wire guardian if I can find it. Okay. I'm going to go back down through the wire guardian and then down through the crimp. All of that down. Now, if you want to go through a bead, you can. I'm going to just skip it. I just want to be sure that my bead stringing wire is not crossing inside there. Bring in my crimper tool, give it a squeeze. I'm going to turn it sideways, put it in the front notch, give it a squeeze, and then I'm going to trim off any excess bead stringing wire that there is. Okay. Now, I'm going to make a big, huge mess and dump out seed beads everywhere.
Yay. I'm already imagining the seed beaters adapting this design with like extra seed beading.
Oh yeah, I can see all kinds of really amazing things. So I'm going to add my decorative ring here, and I'm going to use 2 jump rings to do that. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because the decorative ring, the surface area is a little wide. So I just want to be sure that I'm not crowding my jump ring too much. So I'm going to add a jump ring to my decorative ring. Go ahead and close that back. And then I'm going to add another jump ring to this just so that it doesn't make it stiff. You know, if it's too crowded, then it doesn't hang nicely. It gets a little too stiff. So thread the jump ring and then add that to your wire guardian. Oh, goodness. All right. So we've got our decorative ring here, and then your lariat, you can either go through the front or from the back, right? You're just going to take your bird, the end with the bird on it, and that's how you're going to adjust the length, right? So you just put it over your head, and then you can kind of just pull on this to shorten it up or let it be nice and wide. However you want to wear it is up to you. But
got a good question here from Faye. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on before we move on to the bracelet.
Let's see. She says, I tried making a lariat once, but the beads kept slipping through the loop, so it didn't stay closed. Is there a way to prevent that? So unfortunately, there's not really much you can do. If like for the one that we've got here, since the loop is nice and large, our beads are kind of small, obviously it is going to kind of shift on you all day long, which doesn't bother some people, but that definitely it's going to bother Faye, and that's okay because other people are going to feel that way too. So what you would do is you would want a smaller ring in proportion to your beads. The smaller the ring, the less slippage you're going to have, right? The only other way to do it is to make a fake lariat that doesn't adjust at all, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of it actually being a real lariat where the strand is coming through, your strand may come down to this loop, right? And then you start a new strand. So it's kind of like a Y necklace, but with a big ring in the middle of it. That's gonna keep it stationary. It's always going to be the same length, no matter what. But other than that, there's not really much that you can do about it. You can, if your necklace is long enough, you can actually loop it through twice, and that also helps. And when you've got a nice big ring like this, you definitely can loop it through twice, and it looks kind of cool. So just looping it through there 2 times will help to keep it a little bit more, let's see. What's another way to do this? So
the other piece would be the size of the bead on the focal. So like the bird is your larger bead, and the larger that bead is, the more it acts as a stopper as well.
Exactly. And there's actually a couple of different ways you can wear a lariat. And of course, why would I say that if I couldn't just tell you right off the bat? But let me tell you what, if you're curious as to some different ways that you can wear a lariat, if you will Google ways to tie a scarf, it's actually the same thing with a lariat. Mm-hmm. So depending on, the size of your beads and the size of your ring, you can kind of play around with it like you would a scarf, right? To figure out what is going to work for you. Because there's other than just sticking it through here, there's a couple of other really cool things you can do. Don't ask me what they are, because apparently my brain stopped working at that point. All I can tell you is Google it. But yeah. That's as much information as I'm going to give you today. Sam has already drained me of all of my knowledge.
I know. So, I've asked. I was like, there's so many harder questions than she normally has to answer.
It's all good. Okay, so as far as the bracelet is concerned, since we are kind of after the hour mark, I'm just going to show you, the bracelet. Now, it's just a straight stringing project. And if that's okay with you, Sam, that's all I'll do is just show you kind of the pattern of what I put together here. So I did my wire guardian in a crimp, of course, and then I've got my jump ring on the end. And I did let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the moonstone beads, or 11 of your amethyst or your sodalite, whichever kit you bought, right? You're going to do 11 of those with some seed beads in between there. Then I popped in, just for that extra pop of color, one of the melon beads. And then I used a bunch of these and I just thread them on.
That's my favorite part of the bracelet.
Right? It's just a really cool kind of just cluster of goodness. And it really kind of mirrors the cluster that is in.
Oh, Sarah's just frozen for a moment. She usually returns in about 5 seconds. Hold, please. We need some really nice hold music while we wait.
I'm back.
Hey, Sarah.
It mirrors the cluster that's in our focal as well as the earrings. And I'm going to show you the earrings here in just a second. But I put on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of the drops. And then another melon, a seed bead. And then I just finished it off with 2 jump rings and my lobster clasp. And then I added a dangle because I had one solitary melon drop left over, and I can't do anything without a dangle. So you don't have to add that on there if you don't want to, but I can't not, because it's just kind of my thing, you know, is to have a little extra something so that I've got that movement. But it's an asymmetrical kind of design, but I think it really works. And like I said, this cluster here is very similar to the cluster in the drop that you've got going on in your necklace. So that's an idea. You can string it up however you want to. You can put your cluster in the center, right? And put just an even number of your moonstone beads on either side if you want to. It's totally up to you. I just thought this was a nice little configuration for the bracelet. And again, just straight stringing. There's not any wire wrapping other than just a wire wrapped loop for the drop if you want to add it.
That's then, so lovely.
For the earrings, we have the exact same drop here as we do in our necklace. So we've got the larger melon, the 4 drops, that makes our cluster, and then 2 of the melons here. So I've got one of them. We'll put the other one together. So we've got a full set here. And I've wire wrapped, so that'll save a little bit of time. I'm going to bring in 4 of our drops. So it's the exact same number of beads that was in the cluster on our necklace. So 4 of those. And then
you really figured out how to use like almost every bead of this kit.
Yeah, I wanted to be sure that like everything got used, and that, you know, I don't know, it's a very bead-alicious design.
The most bead-alicious.
All right, so our melon's going to go onto a head pin just like we did when we got started here. I'm going to do a wrapped loop. So I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, going up and over, rotate, take that over to the other side, and we're going to wire wrap. Okay, I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, trim off. Okay, and then this is going to go together the same way. So we're going to use some jump rings here. So I'm going to open, jump ring, thread our largest drop because we're starting at the bottom here. Oh, whoops, that was actually a round jump ring. I don't know how that hopped in there. Keep my jump rings the same here. Close that back. Okay, I'm going to pick up another jump ring. Albert, that's enough. It's being very grunty. I apologize. That's my dog. All right, so a drop on either side, right? Remember, we're doing 1 on each side of the jump ring that we added previously so that it hangs evenly. And then you're going to close, lay that down with that jump ring at the top. You're going to open another jump ring. Pick up. Or if you pick it up with your fingers, just be sure that you still have 1 bead on either side, right? And then 1 bead on either side of this one as well. And then before you close that, we're going to thread on an eye pin. We're going to close that back. And I'm going to do 2 melons with just simple loops for the first one and then a wrapped loop. You don't have to do both melons if you don't want to. I know that can make kind of a long earring. Some people don't like their earrings to be super long, so you could do just 1 melon if you wanted to. But in the spirit of using every single bead, I made mine a double.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just going to do a simple loop with this one. So just trimming off. Round nose pliers, roll back for my simple loop, and then an eye pin onto that. And then I'm just going to do a wrapped loop on the top. And then add our ear wire, and this one is done.
I so love how well it matches the focal of the necklace.
Yep. It really, it still, listen to me. Yep. That was awfully sassy. I mean, I wanted it all to, I just wanted it to be cohesive. And the cool part is that you can wear all of these pieces individually if you want to. Obviously, they look awesome all by themselves, but it really does make a great set that you can wear all together, and it visually makes sense. The earrings are just as elongating as the necklace is. And then the cluster and the bracelet, the elongation of using, more of the peach moonstone than anything else. It really it's all about length and longness, leanness, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and while we're talk about the earrings, the ear wires you get in this kit are gold filled from TierraCast, so they're very nice quality. And the ones you get in the other 2 kits are niobium, which is one of the most non-reactive metals. And so they're just really great for you to be able to tell your clients that you're using metals that they really shouldn't react to. Niobium is considered hypoallergenic. I don't know the exact terms used with gold filled, but generally I think gold is the most non-reactive stone.
Right.
So that jewelry makers use. So we really try to use some nice quality materials that you ultimately will have pieces that you feel really good about.
What is happening here? Hold on.
I go over here.
Okay, I'm going to put this on a bust so that you can kind of see it. Now, it is longer than my bust, but that's kind of the point, right? We are going for that long, lean, kind of opera length necklace that you can adjust. So you can wear it close up here, or you can open it up and wear it longer, and then maybe layer some smaller pieces with it, like some dainty gold chains layered, and opening this up a little bit more is a really pretty look. Yeah, you really can kind of play around with it, and you've got your bird cluster there at the bottom. So cute. Lovely. And then we've got our bracelet that goes with. Just feel like sometimes looking at it from this angle, it's not the best way to show off a bracelet, but it kind of helps with the color sometimes too. And then, of course, our beautiful earrings. And again, you don't have to do both of the melons with those, because it does make them kind of long, but they're still nice and long and still pull off the same kind of long, lean look, even with just one of the melons. So very pretty.
Oh, they're lovely. I love how the whole set came out, Sarah.
Thank you. You gave me wonderful beads to work with. I mean, the jewelry kind of makes itself at that point,
It does not, but thank you.
It does.
I so appreciate all your efforts to make such a lovely design. These are going to make awesome gifts, and I hope get folks inspired. And this is the type of time of year when folks are really you can really start using your jewelry knowledge to make gifts that can be quite premium, but not cost hundreds of dollars.
Exactly.
So we hope this gave you some ideas.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're going to go ahead and wrap up, but we're going to give you, just kind of go over our things. So Sarah, don't forget to check out Sarah's Etsy shop. which is 13 Crows for her kits. And you can also scroll back and see some of her past kits, because often maybe there'll be like one left from a past show. So there's a nice variety in the Etsy shop that I highly recommend checking out. Sara also runs a Hardwired group, a group called Hardwired, where it is a paid group where she teaches you amazing designs that are, I think you kind of describe as like a little bit more intermediate level.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you just really quickly. This was our weekly project this week, was this wire woven pendant. So if you're looking to up your skills a little bit, Hardwired is definitely the place to be.
Wire weaving is very fun.
I love it.
I've done at least one of your wire weaving projects from Hardwired, and I love that necklace so much. So I think that those are your main things. Anything else coming up that we should know about?
Coming up, anything that you should know about other than the contest? No, just same stuff, different day. My schedule and your schedule, of course, too, will change a little bit around the holidays, but other than that, no, we're just gonna keep on doing what we do.
Cool. Yeah. So Sara mentioned the competition. If you want your own competition kit, we still have some left. Those are now available on the main website, which is samsbeadshop.com. I think there was like 8 or 9 left last I checked. 4 left, Jesse says.
Wow.
I don't know if we have any more beads to make more, so just go snag those guys at samsbeadshop.com. I think folks were kind of had a fair confusion about like where to purchase things. That's on the main website. The Christmas box we did on the Bead Box website, because it's a little easier for us to do pre-orders on that site, because it's a little bit more separate. So you can go to samsbeadbox.com and order the bonus Christmas box, which is not to be confused with the monthly box. That's everything. I think that's everything. I feel like there's a million things I want to tell all of you, but that is so much for now. And we'll just keep on beading next week. No, I think I covered the bases, Lynn. We like to keep things interesting here. Yeah. Have a dull day. Everyone, thank you for joining, and thank you so much, Sara.
Thank you, everybody,
for being here and rocking this kit. Yeah.
What day and time is the show?
Oh, fair enough. So the competition is a week from today. I believe it's actually 2:30 p.m. Pacific, right? I want to say it's a slightly earlier. It's 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
So just slightly earlier than our normal class time, which has now typically been 3/6 o'clock. This is the people I need. So you can purchase it now, but you have more than just till next Friday to submit design. So Sara, Danielle, and Tracy get the hour to design. Look of terror. But the second winner we're crowning from the Sam's Bead Shop community. So you have until December 5th to get your design in. So you don't have quite.
That's just cheating. I'm just kidding.
So make sure to read up on the rules if you are going to submit, because there's some things you do need to kind of check off the list in order to qualify, like the number of different beads from the kit, and how many pieces you can submit, and one photo. So just make sure you read through the rules if you are submitting. You do not have to submit. You can also just kind of take it as a bonus bead box that Rachel and I curated. But the idea behind it is that it's going to hopefully get all of us a deadline to make something. So I hope you will give yourself that challenge. Even if you don't submit it in, I hope you'll give yourself the challenge. But I want to see what you do.
Me too.
Yeah, that's in exactly 1 week on November 18th, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. It's our first Sam's Bead Shop showdown, and Sara is going head to head with Danielle and Tracy. So be there or be bead square or something. All right. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
You guys are the best. Much love.